Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 3 of the Mozu mini report. How are we on this, for you guys, dark, dreary Tuesday morning, wherever you're at now? It's actually not too bad. Of course, I'm recording this on Monday, so it is a Monday. And we all know how that goes. Nobody wants to give up their weekend if they actually had Friday, Saturday off, and maybe Sunday. I am fortunate enough to get 3-day weekends every 2 weeks due to my scheduling. So it's always a good thing for me. All right, so hope you guys all had a great weekend. What did you do? See any movies, watch any TV shows, and that's actually where we're going to start. Today we're going to start a little segment called Aric's Corner. We're going to separate it into that. First thing we're going to talk about is some stuff that I did Friday night. I think I joked with you guys last week that we were going to have to start night riding for the mountain biking here in Tucson just because of the wind, not because of the heat. How heat or wind is more detrimental to riding than heat sometimes, I don't know, but you can always get up earlier to avoid the heat. You can't get up early enough to avoid wind. So Friday at 6 p.m., a buddy and I showed up at one of the local trails, all decked out and lighted up and ready to go. First time we've done that since March. It was a good time. We got about 10 miles in, not as much as we'd wanted. The main reason was, there's a big difference between getting your body up and active at 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning. It's like, okay, let's go, let's rock and roll, this is exercise. And then there's, again, a whole nother world when you show up at 6 at night and you've already done a full day's work and your body's like, what in the hell do you think you're doing? Let's lay down, let's watch some TV, maybe let's drink a beer. This whole peddling bullshit doesn't work. So it's going to take a little conditioning to get used to that again. No big deal. Had a good ride. It was a little drier, a little dustier than expected. And we went from there. Highlight of that night, or at least interesting part of that ride. No, I did not hit any cactus. Thank you for asking. Came around a corner and there was a guy just standing there on his bike, all lit up, and it's customary if you pass a guy on the trail and they're stopped to just double check, make sure that everything's okay. So I did that. I pulled an earbud out. I'm one of those scumbags that rides with earphones in. I pulled an earbud out and I said, hey man, you okay? And he was like, I took a tumble. Oh, okay. He seemed to be standing up. Everything was fine. I rode on for a second, and probably about 100 yards away, I realized, should probably figure out if he's all right. So I stop and notice that he's moving, because of course you can see the lights. So it's a one-way trail, about another, 3-4 minutes worth of ride, and we were at a natural stopping point anyway. So my buddy Troy and I stopped and let the guy catch up, and I then, grilled him a little harder. Hey, you okay? This, that, and the other. Come to find out, this guy had taken a wrong turn, was out on parts of the trail he didn't know at all, didn't seem to really be prepared to ride either. The trails we were riding, the south side is very family friendly. It's just all little sweeping loops and hills, things like that. And give me 1 second, guys. We're gonna dim this real quick. But it's all swooping, more family friendly. Once you get up on the north side, it's a little more what you would expect from quote unquote mountain biking. More dives into washes and sharper corners and stuff like that. So that's where we were at this point. We're on the north side, and this poor guy wasn't ready for it. And he seemed a little shooken up from his fall. Nothing broken, no blood, which is always a good thing. But so my buddy Troy and I decided, hey man, and his name was George. It's like, George, why don't you follow us out? During the day, these trails can get a little wonky as far as if you don't know where you're at. It's now the middle of the night. It was about 7 o'clock at this point. He could have wandered out of there and down there for hours, and there was no sense in that. So we put him in the middle. I took lead. We put George in the middle, and then my buddy Troy followed up behind, and we took the fastest route out. Now, unfortunately, that did not help him for what he had to ride. There were still some pretty big drops and swooping turns down into blind hills and stuff like that. But we got them out and just took our time, and then we just took the paved path. We had a choice. We could keep going and basically reverse our route, head back south, or take a paved path, and we decided we were done. So we had 3 more miles just to get back to the car. We took the path. Got home and everything was good, and that was nice. It was a good start, good first night ride. My buddy John couldn't make it. He was out looking at cars, so he got to avoid all of that mess. But that was my Friday night. It was a good time. Got home to the kiddo. The wife was working. Got home to the kiddo and watched some TV and stuff. Now, TV that I watched this weekend. Did not go to any movies. Did not make it up to see Coco. I wish I had. I've got to find time to do that. I hear amazing things about it. But got to see some movies. Now, or not movies, TV. You can tell it's early. Have any of you seen The Wonderful Mrs. Maisel on Amazon? I know that it's Ms. Maisel. I'm pretty sure it's wonderful. It might be The Magnificent. I watched a preview for it, this, that, and the other. It looked kind of interesting. I think on Saturday afternoon, I walked into the living room and the wife was watching something on TV, and I said, "Hey, honey, what are you watching?" And she told me. I was like, "Ooh, well, I was kind of interested in that. I'll have to." But I was working on the computer, which is right in the same room as the TV, and like, I don't know. And it was one of these things. More and more, I'm looking at the TV instead of the computer. So eventually, I gave up and just went right to sat next to her on the couch and watched the last 40 minutes of the pilot. That's a great show. If you don't know what it's about, it's basically a female stand-up, Mrs. Maisel, in New York City, sometime in the 50s. It's the same time Lenny Bruce was big, or starting. There seems to be a lot of issues as far as folks getting arrested for what they're saying in the clubs, these kinds of things. You can see a lot from the trailer. It's really good. Obviously, large upheaval in this woman's life. She decides to turn. She finds out she's funny as shit, and yes, she is. It's based on a real female comedian. My wife and I thought it might be Joan Rivers, but it wasn't. I can't remember the woman's name right now. The set pieces and cinematography for this thing are great. It's not what you'd call 100% family friendly. She gets pretty blue in her comedy when she does it. We're getting ready to watch episode 3, I believe. But it's really, really good. Great show to sit and watch. I highly recommend it. It's definitely something worth checking out. Sunday morning, of course. Now, we'll get to that in a moment. Sometime later on Saturday, I watched the latest episode of the Raunaways, which is on Hulu. I think Marvel's best non-Netflix show that they have. Absolutely. No, I am not a fan of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I burned out of that a long time ago. I had to force myself to watch it back in the day. Yes, this new season might be interesting with the whole space thing and blah, blah, blah. They're going to tie it into the movie, into Infinity War coming up and everything. It's just never lived up to its potential for me, and no, I have no interest in checking it out again. I wish them all the luck, but you won't be getting my viewership numbers. So, Raunaways, if you haven't checked it out, it's on Hulu, and it's really good so far. It's about a bunch of young kids. I think I talked about it quick on episode 1, maybe. They were friends because their parents were all friends. They started to grow up. They started to probably grow apart. And then one of the siblings died, and that was the wedge. And boom, now it's high school. We all hate each other, and nobody wants to talk. They've gotten together now because of a crisis, and they're all finding out interesting things about themselves. And that basically their parents are evil. And that's not really a spoiler, that's in the trailer. The parents are evil, the kids have to get back together, and right now they're in the stages of figuring out, did we see what we see and are our parents really evil, or did we misunderstand because we're teenagers and we don't want to think, no, we don't want to trust our parents, we don't want to spend time with them, but we don't want to think they're capable of killing people. So that story is ongoing, and so far it's a really good narrative. Sunday morning, got up and watched some RWBY. guys, seriously, if you're not watching this and you like animated stuff, I don't know why you're not watching this. Get your asses on YouTube. It's free. Watch it. It's not dark and dreary and super sad like a lot of anime are. There are dramatic points, there's comedy, there's some lighthearted characters, but all the humor fits. If you follow it through, everything fits, and it, kind of like the MCU. If you like the way the comedy is put into the MCU, you will like the way the comedy is put into RWBY. It's really good, and it's a mix of it's almost cyberpunkian. I mean, you've got bionics, and you've got collapsible weapons, and you've got almost comic booky superpowers, and there's a little bit of magic, and there's these horrible beasts in a shattered world, and it's a really, really good story, and it definitely can get everybody involved for sure. From RWBY, well, no, that's it. That's it for Aric's Corner. Let's go ahead and move on to another segment. Let's talk about movies. Of course, we know we're going to talk about movies if I'm behind the wheel. Getting ready to start looking at top 10s for the year. There's a couple of new ones still coming out here in December, so I can't really do a top 10 or top 5. Of course, we still have Shape of Water. We still have Star Wars. I need to see Coco before I make my top 10 of the year. But what I can do probably pretty succinctly is my bottom 5. There are 5 movies for me that I've seen this year. I'm at 29 or 30 right now. I'm going to be closer to 35 before the end of the year. But I'm pretty sure I've got my bottom 5. Now, these are in no order, and I will explain why I don't like them. Just so we're aware, this part has spoilers. The last movie in this list came out in like July. So you need to have, if you're going to have seen them, you're going to have seen them. Otherwise, you can skip. But this part's going to have spoilers. All right, my first of my bottom 5 is going to be, and again, no particular order, is going to be Kong Skull Island. It was just mediocre. It wasn't a great film. The human characters were paper cutouts of people. There was no depth to them at all. The cast was amazing, which is what really disappointed. I think that this actually hits the bottom 5 more for its failed levels of greatness that it could have had. I mean, you had Tom Hiddleston, you had Brie Larson, you had Samuel L. Jackson, you had all these guys. You did nothing with this film. These people were cutouts. The CGI was amazing. I thought Kong was a fairly decent character. The ground lizardy things that he was fighting, those were kind of neat. The Bone Crushers, John C. Reilly, another character whose best moments were on the trailer. It just isn't very good. I know that it's building up the monster universe for those guys. We're getting Godzilla next, and then after that we're going to get Kong versus Godzilla. This Kong isn't still probably quite tall enough to do that. That's going to be, obviously he will have grown more. This movie was put together time-wise at the end of the Vietnam War, so the early 70s. If this Kong is allowed to live long enough, then he'll be fine. Gotta love how the taillights mess with the lighting. With nothing but quality here at the Mozu Pro Mobile Studio. So that Kong, he wasn't supposed to be an adult, he was supposed to be an adolescent. So getting even bigger enough to, if he's actually going to battle the Godzilla that they showed us in the Rian Johnson movie, then he's going to be tall enough, I'm sure. But great cinematography. A lot of the, like I said, the CGI was good. Just the overall arc and the characters just let that movie down. I think my best description of it, a friend of mine asked me, they're like, well, what was wrong with it? And I said, it just was bland. And honestly, I forgot 90% of it walking out the door. There was no substance to the film. Second movie that I didn't care for would have been, we're going to move on to, why am I drawing a blank? But I am, so we're going to cheat real fast. And we're going to go to, Ghost in the Shell. Yeah. Ghost in the Shell, I think, is pretty self-explanatory. No one really, really liked this film, and it bombed at the box office. I think it's easier to say what my problems weren't with the film. I didn't care about the Scarlett Johansson casting. I'm sorry. I know that whitewashing is an issue. Hi, the Matt Damon Great Wall film. What the fuck? But I never saw Major as a Asian. I just never saw her as an ethnically Asian character, and neither did the Japanese. So I get it, and yes, Hollywood has a problem with it. I just didn't feel it rang for this one. Neither did the plot, neither did the stakes and the characters. It was just not a good film. Number 4 on my list is easily The Mummy. That's another just forgettable film. If you haven't seen it, don't really bother. If you want fun with mummies, really go back to the Brendan Fraser, Rachel Weisz early 90s mummies 1 and 2 and just watch good films, because yeah, they are. And yes, I get it, the Scorpion King animation at the end of the second one is horrible. You can look up why that was, and it's a shame, but that movie itself is amazing. And get over the bad CGI and you're good to go. But no, and The Mummy was so bad it pretty much killed Universal's Dark Universe. It's toast. You spend all the time worrying about this character, and she was kind of cool. The cinematography for The Mummy was cool. Her character, this, that, and the other is a good deal. And you've got Tom Cruise running around being Tom Cruise. It just didn't work. And at the end, you get him as some all-powerful, super powerful being. She's gone, because why not? Don't need to keep her around. She was only the title character. And she's gone, and now he's running around the desert with his resurrected best buddy, and he doesn't even know what he's doing, and he'll be that floater-in kind of super weapon that they'll eventually try to find and call in when it's all said and done and they're losing to some ancient god or something. It just didn't hold up. Next on that list would be Valerian, City of a Thousand Planets. I said in my Stardust review in the earlier part of the year, it was somewhere between Jupiter Ascending and Fifth Element, but much closer to Jupiter Ascending. The chemistry, I actually liked the chemistry between Lorelai and Valerian. I thought that was fine. Dane DeHaan and, God, I can't think of her name right now, the young woman that played Enchantress in Suicide Squad. I thought their chemistry was fine. There were some weird bits that didn't work, like why her power armor, he's running around power armor, crashing through bulkheads and racing towards her. She's in the exact same power armor and allows herself to be taken captive by these guys when she just could have fought her way out. It just didn't work. Luc Besson needs to have smaller budgets and go from there. Obviously, it just was a mess, and which was a shame, because the potential again for that film was amazing. Which gets me to probably my most controversial movie on this list, and what a lot of people will then, Aric, you're a jackass, blah, blah, blah. Spider-Man Homecoming. I like and dislike this movie more than any other movie of the year. The dichotomy on this is so huge. It's ridiculous. And why is that? Okay, Tom Holland's amazing Spider-Man. Tom Holland is an amazing Peter Parker. The casting bits all around are great. The storyline, for the most part, is awesome. Fuck you, Tony Stark. Biggest villain in the Marvel Universe. Michael Keaton as the Vulture was really well done. They pissed away all the Civil War connections. And I know some of you have heard me say this before, so I'm not going to go into it deep, but it rang far too true for me. I couldn't handle it. They mentioned Cap's maybe a war criminal, and, they mentioned Sokovia Accords in passing. But, hey, at the same time, Tony can bankroll an illegal underage superhero in New York City, but nobody's paying attention. None of the government agencies, worldwide or not, are paying enough attention to say, hey, Tony, you got to stop it. And he was literally going to bring the kid into the Avengers at a press conference. This could have been fixed with two things. Ross makes a phone call. Stark, what the fuck are you doing? Knock it off. Tony says, oh yeah, I'll stop, and then, you know, tells Peter to be more quiet, and then no press behind the door. It really was a bluff when he was going to bring him into the Avengers. That would have saved the movie for me, and it would probably be in my top 5. I personally can't let that narrative go. When they did that, I can't, and that's a failing of mine. It is how it is what it is, and that's why that movie right now for me is in my bottom 5. All right, guys, I'm going to stop and grab some food real quick. We're going to pick this up with What's Up with Mozu in just a moment, and I'll have Taco Bell sitting next to me. We'll catch you in a minute. Breakfast crunch wrap in hand, we plow forward into our last segment of the morning, which is What's Up with Mozu. All right, as you guys know, we are prepping for our Unpub. Our Unpub is this Saturday, actually. If you're watching this on Tuesday, the whatever of December, the Unpub is the 9th, coming up this Saturday. So if you are a Tucson local, please come on down. Take a minute, find the Unpub Mini AZ page. Ooh, this should be an interesting corner at this truck stop. Find that page, follow the link on the event, and come on down. Sign up if you would, to give us an idea who's going to be there. Come on in, sign up, and come down and play some unpublished games and give folks feedback, because they would love it. And if you are a designer, come on down. We don't have any table space left. The spots are all full, but come on down and see what's going on. We're going to have another one of these in June. Sorry about that, dude. I just cut that guy off. Not because I was talking to you guys, but just because. So that's going to be down there. We may live stream from the event. I'm hoping to get internet access to be able to do that. At worst, we'll do some recorded video and post it up later, and some pictures. Again, we are showing my baby, The Hunt, which is moving along nicely. We're also going to be showing Jamie's Nova Dash that she's working on hardcore. She and I have one last test to go through. She's in rulebook edits right now. So the rulebook is done. It's looking really good. Really liking everything that's going on. We've got the component list, I think, down to where we need it. She did up a beautiful map that you guys saw pictures of. If you follow the Mozu pages, we posted pictures of that up. The game looks great. So the Hunt is actually, again, moving along really well. We got some things to test at the Unpub, something actually new, the testing at the Unpub itself. So I'm hoping that goes well. That can either be really, really good or really, really bad. But it's minor enough that it's not going to hurt the game either way. It can only enhance, I hope. You know, that's the best laid plans of mice and men right there. The other good thing about the Hunt is I contacted a buddy of mine, and I'm prepping a second copy of it to go out to its first blind test. So after any change, I'll take a week after the Unpub, make any minor changes or tweaks that are felt needed at that time. And then I'm going to finish a second copy, and it's going to go off. And then it's going to continue to go off. That copy is going to be mobile. I'm going to have one group hang on to it for about 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then send it to the next group, and so on, and get some real blind feedback from it, and just send changes where needed. I think that'll be a good spot. After that, of course, for Mozu, going to Christmas time, I've got to start figuring out if I'm going to start pushing another game. We have notes for a ton of different games. I want to see if there's something I'm interested in developing right now, because the Hunt is getting down to the point where it's going to be in maintenance mode, unless something falls apart, which it very well could. I could get feedback from these blind testers and just say, Aric, what the F are you doing? But unless that happens, this game is on, minor crews, minor tweaks and fixes. I can start heavy design and development work of another. So I will. I've got to go through the notes and figure out which one that would be. All right, guys, that's pretty much it for the Mozu Mobile this week. Again, if please get a hold of us. Let's talk. Send me some notes. I can answer any questions right here that you guys send in. Looking for something like that. Start some conversations. At the very end of this video are all of the social media hookups and joints and all kinds of crazy stuff for Mozu Pro. We have a bunch of them. We're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, we're on obviously the Facebooks. We're on Stardust because I do those video or those movie reviews. We're all over the place, so please come on down, start a conversation, make the old man happy. Otherwise, please enjoy these, watch them, have a good time, and until next week, ladies and gentlemen, we'll talk to you later. Bye.